When's the last time you thought about your offer letter? Right? It's not something you think about. In fact, very often you hand it to legal and HR and say, "You deal with it. I don't want to get involved in that mess." And I get it. This is a legal document. This is a contract of sorts. This has binding legal implications. If you mistype something, if you add the wrong thing, it's very easy to get into trouble. So I don't say, "Hey, we're about to dive in and rewrite the whole contract." Not what we're talking about. But if you think about what you've been working on so far at this stage of the game, think about all the social media posts talking about your brand in a certain kind of way, talking about certain focuses, talking about certain ideas, and having that connect to the job posting, which connects to the interview experience. The last step in that process is the offer letter. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, and going on a little bit of a limb here, that most of us think of the offer letter process, and certainly the offer process in general, as a game of negotiation over salary. And usually salary, bonus, title, start dates, location, stuff like that, right? It is very much about that. And yes, in your experience, in my experience, that's true. But it doesn't have to be that way. And in fact, I'd say it's to your advantage to not make it like that in a lot of levels. And here's how we're going to do it. In hiring, in getting a job, obviously we want to get paid. Obviously, no one works for free. No one expects you to work for free. However, money is not the thing that moves everybody. And in fact, there's a point at which most people kind of say, "I feel like I'm being paid fairly. Another 1,000, another 10,000 is nice. I'm not going to say no to it, but there might be things that matter more." The problem is that in that interview process, so much of the things we say, "Hey, we have this. Hey, we're wonderful here. Hey, we have a great culture. Hey, we're like a family." You say a bunch of stuff. We've talked about this, right? And the candidate thinks, okay, they're just saying stuff. Nothing's been proven because you're saying 20 things and you say it once and that's all you say. Maybe you say it twice as if that means anything. And there are all a bunch of claims being thrown around, but nothing's proven. And so the candidate is forced to really kind of dig through the tea leaves and ask tough questions in the interview process and look at the interview experience and the candidate experience with a very, very cynical eye, right? Like, okay, they say that, but what does that really mean? Or, okay, it's wonderful that that person had a great experience, but are they special in some regard? Or is that the standard experience? What makes that experience true for more than her or him, right? What is true? And so you take a very cynical approach as a candidate to this process because, to be blunt, most of what you're seeing is spin. Most of what you're seeing is based on an agenda. I want you to see us as positive, so you take this job, so I can close this rec, so I can get you on board, so I can put your butt in the seat, whatever it is. I just want to close this deal. And at some point, and there's a reason why candidates very often think of recruiters as being a bit like used car salesmen. What's it going to take to get you in this job? Do you want a low finance package? Do you want a low monthly payment? What's it going to take? And then it shouldn't be that way. A used car is a used car. They're helpful. It's a tool. A job changes your life. A new job is a life change. No question about it. And so throwing out claims, and as we've seen in the Glassdoor section, just adding more positives doesn't get you where you want to go. Throwing out claims isn't helping. And so consequently, when it comes to the offer letter, the only conversation that you can have is about money, the only objective things that the candidate has seen. And I say objective because if you say, "We're going to pay you $80,000 a year," and they say yes, and you pay them $75,000 a year, that's called felony fraud. So that's why contracts matter. There are some very, very particular things that are maybe not legally binding, but enough to get people into trouble if they mess that up. However, if you've set up this content structure that shows how much your company cares about a certain thing, they care about support, they care about autonomy, they care about innovation, whatever it is, and you harp on it, you talk about it over and over through the entire process, over and over and over, there's a point at which the candidate must say to themselves, "I guess that must be true." They keep talking about it. They keep bringing further proof that this thing is true. They show me policies that reinforce how this thing continues, that it's not specific to this one person, that is true for all people. That they talk about it from different teams. They talk about it from different levels, right? It's not just for leadership who gets the fun stuff. Everybody gets this benefit of this idea. At some point they go, "Yeah, it must be true." If you've done your job right and you've put all these pieces together, and it does feel like a puzzle sometimes, but that's what we're doing, and you attract someone in. They saw the outreach. They saw the job posting. They saw your headline. They say, ooh, let's pretend you're talking about, what do we do something different today? Let's talk about your mission. That's a good one. Mission and values. Very powerful stuff if you do it right. Saying mission once and calling it a day does no good. But if you talk about how important and powerful your mission is and how much you are committed to this mission in the outreach, and that person says, I'm interested, what they're saying is, I'm interested in mission. And then you spend the entire journey talking about mission and talking about values and showing the mission, showing the values, and you know they care about it because that's what attracted them in the first place. They didn't show up for the money. They didn't show up for the autonomy. They didn't show up for the support. They showed up for the mission because that's what you ask the recruiters to start seeding out there. That's what your job postings say. You've proven this point down the road. Now you're getting to the offer letter stage. You don't simply say, now let's talk about money. No. I mean, you will. That's just human. But the power of what I refer to as subjective value of a job, meaning the autonomy you get, the support you get, the status you get, the innovation you get, the career development you get, the whatever it is, the mission you're attached to, that thing you get, turns out once people hit a kind of fair level of pay, getting a lot more of that subjective value is more important than a little more objective value. Meaning, here, quick survey. Would you take, if you think about all the values that you could care about, think about your favorite. Think about the thing that moves you, specifically you, the thing you care about, whether it's autonomy and support or a great team to be around or a mission that you care about. Some people are very mission driven. Some people are support driven. Some people are very performance driven. Some people are very, whatever that thing that drives you. I'm going to make you an offer. You can either get a 3% raise or twice as much of that subjective value that you care about. Most people go for the subjective value. Most people are paid relatively fairly. Again, everybody likes more, but this is not what this is about. But they would give up small increases to get large increases of subjective value, provided it's true. I'm not going to trade 3% raise for lots of autonomy, but not have that autonomy happen. That's not really a thing. Like that's a shell game. But if I've spent the last month proving to you how much we care about autonomy and how much autonomy we give everybody, and you start to believe that autonomy, and I say, look, here's the offer letter. It's a slight raise over what you are getting right now, but what you're really getting here is this much more autonomy. You're effectively turning the conversation of the offer letter from here is a number to a much bigger value picture. This is the value you get by working here. A salary, a bonus, a benefit, a title, but also all of this subjective value. That's what you really want. Inserting that message when, only when, you've found a way to kind of insert it at every stage, you get to the point where the candidate probably has to believe it, that increases offer acceptance rates dramatically. I've seen it increase it as much as 12%, which, okay, maybe not doesn't sound like much, but in a company of 3,000 people where you're making offers every single day, a 12% bump saves a lot of time, energy, and money because you don't have to go back to the drawing board for all those dropped rolls. Focus on that offer letter moment. If you've seeded, if you've set up all this conversation, this is the moment in which you pay it out. You must believe this thing. You keep showing up for interviews because of this thing. Do you want lots of this thing? Great, we have it. And it comes with a salary. So what I'd like you to do is work with your legal and HR team to not rewrite the whole offer letter, but simply to find a way to insert, much like the headlines in a job posting, a way of reminding this candidate at this moment when they're thinking about the offer and they're thinking about the number, nudge them and say, remember, you're here because you care about autonomy or whatever it is. You fed them through, you fed them that information. This is the payoff. It can be in the letter. It can be in the letter that has the contract in it. It can say, hey, Susan, we're so thrilled. We had a great time getting to know you. And at this stage, we'd love, hopefully by now, you've learned this is a company that cares about autonomy. that we offer as much autonomy to every single employee as possible, and sometimes a little too much. We hope you see that and value that as much as we do. And because of that, we'd like to send you this offer letter. And here's the offer letter. And the offer letter says, can find a way to thread a little bit of autonomy in it just to say, look, it's talking about it. It's incredibly powerful. It pays out all that investment. You've been feeding a pipeline. You've been building a pipeline around this core message, and you've sold them on it. Now it's time to pay it out. So it doesn't take a huge change, but it absolutely requires human resources and legal involvement. It can be soft language. It can be just a nudge to remember we give you a lot of autonomy or whatever it is. But to ignore it is like saying, I came for this really cool car. It's super, super fast. I love this fast car. I'm going to take it for a test drive. How fast does it go? Can we take it on a test track? I want to just run around the car, see how fast I can take it. This is fantastic. Oh man, I've been in the market for a fast car. This is a great fast car. Okay, do you want this safe car? What? No, I'm here for a fast car. We've talked about fast car this whole time. That's how jarring it feels to say autonomy, 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 salary. It's a twist. It's a spin. It's a coming out of nowhere sort of situation. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie where you're like, whoa, what the heck? What's going on here? You don't want that. You've been setting a message. You've been feeding that message. It is time at the offer letter to really make it work. And yes, it does work. It sounds fluffy bunny. It sounds like a crazy thing. But if you talk to a salesperson and explain this model to them, they will completely understand what you're talking about, and they will completely agree with me that this changes things, that this increases the yes, that this creates more yes. So with that, we're getting close to that calendar. I think that's the thing you care about most. I get that. We have one more section, one more task, one more project to look at before we get to the calendar, and that's advocacy. See you in a minute.